I will immediately switch to English because our guest is Janine Walter. She's coming from Berlin, and we're very glad to have you here with me. I have to say first that this lecture and tomorrow workshop is organized by Network for Space, Mreža za prostor, and this is one group of different initiatives that are trying to achieve that in urban planning, civil initiatives, individuals, and also NGOs to be more inclusive. One of the topics we are dealing with inside of the network is also temporary use of space. We are working on this for a longer time, and that's why we also decided to invite Janine. She's an urban architect and artist, but also she's part of the group Urban Catalyst Studio, which worked intensively on temporary use of space in different relations, or either for municipalities, also for NGOs, and also like supporting individuals to try to practice temporary use of space. That's why she has a lot of experience in workshops from different cities, and I think we can get a lot of information and experience from your side. We all believe that temporary use of space is an important issue for Ljubljana also, for other Slovene cities. That's why we are looking forward to exchange the knowledge. I think maybe this is and of course I have to thank to Faculty for Architecture to host this lecture here today, and later at the end I will tell something about tomorrow's workshop. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Polonza. Dobre dan, that's the only word I know. Until now, maybe this will change very soon. Before I start to talk about city production and the impact of temporary use, maybe I say also, Polonza said it already, but some additional words to my own history. I was born in Berlin, studied architecture, worked as an urban designer in Switzerland and in the Netherlands for KCAP, in very established urban design office, and already there we worked with conversion areas such as harbor areas or industrial areas to transfer them or transform them and bring them back to the city corpus. After a couple of years I decided to go back to Berlin, to go to the art school again, because the realization processes of urban design projects just took too long for me. I thought I really want to see the impact of urban interventions immediately, and therefore I went to the art school again and studied space strategies. And with this knowledge, and also actually parallel to this, I worked together with Urban Catalyst, Klaus Obermeier, which is an office who came out of an international research project which took place in the years of 2001 to 2003 and was connected to the Technical University and funded by the government. Oh yeah, thank you so much. And the heads were Klaus Obermeier, who later also founded the office, Philipp Misselwitz, who's also a little bit part of the office now today, and Philipp Oswald. And the research project was focusing on temporary use in different cities, such as Berlin, Basel, Vienna, and a couple of other cities. And we're looking at those places to see how they actually reactivate and revitalize urban areas and what kind of impact they have. Out of the research project came the first book, Urban Pioneers, which you see in the middle, and maybe the one or the other of you know about. In this book you can see those study cases of those different cities, but also interviews of people from the municipality who actually went together with those temporary users through the process. A couple of years later, the second book came out. And actually, I'm showing these books because I believe, and I'm very much convinced about that these books and the content of the books show actually our own development and also our view on city production. Because first it was only looking at temporary use with a kind of curiosity and see what's going on as a city planner. I think that, oh my God, I'm losing my profession, or what's going on. But by looking at it, we really saw that what kind of impact they had and how they really transform negative connotated areas. So the second book, the black book, Urban Catalyst it's called, is more about actually the impact of temporary use on the market, on economy, on art and other fields of the society. And the third book is already about how user and quite often actually former temporary user are producing cities themselves. And I also brought a project like an example of those temporary users. The office Urban Catalyst is today working in three main fields. One field is networking and communication. Because what we also found out during this whole processes is that the main thing within those processes and the question if they work or not is depending on communication. And therefore we developed some tools where we bring actors together who actually never talk because they think they are in a kind of war, because they have a totally different view on life and city and so on. And during those events we organize, quite often they realize they are not so far away that how they believed before. And the second field is planning, process and realization. It's a field where we actually started with a kind of classical urban design process, but quite early recognized that those processes doesn't work anymore in terms of that in the end they won't be realized because the parameters are changing. And then we started to work with dynamic master plans, which actually only set a kind of frame of public space and building plots, and within those building plots we in this time always organize some rules so that this master plan has a kind of base within a lot of possibilities are possible. And the third field we are working in is the field of space and city research. In this field we are researching about actually what kind of dynamics we have in certain cities, done by or forced by certain actors such as temporary users, but also by other reactions on this, for instance. And in this field we also developed some tools. I will maybe come later to it. Here you see in this picture the kind of weather map we developed for this research field. Yeah, here you see some tools we developed during the years. I mean, the research project started in 2001. We have now 2015, so it's already a long time where we also did a lot of detours during this processes. But during this time we developed some tools to be able to work with those processes, transformation processes. And I just want to pick some tools which I think are very important to realize a transformation, which you also can call in the context of an instant city, which actually starts right in the beginning and right in the beginning with the future user. So one important tool in our terms of view is, for instance, the Safari. The Safari is a tool where we go into the area we want to work with and try to really feel and see the characteristics of the area and also trace local actors to be able to interview them, to actually use their knowledge and integrate it into the transformation process. Another tool is the weather map, which we just saw on the slide before. The weather map, you always have kind of dynamic, like waves going through the city. And we use this tool because with this we can detect areas which have high potential of transformations, areas which are kind of static, which don't have so much potential. And also we can see in those weather maps where approximately this dynamic wave will go. A very good example for this is, for instance, Berlin. After the wall came down, the east part was totally different than the west part. I'm from the east. Of course, the rents were low, and this started the whole wave going through the east part of Berlin, because all the artists and all the hipsters, they all moved to one area, and of course this also attracted investors to also take a part of this cake, actually, because a lot of people were there, also visitors and so on, so the whole area transformed. And then of course also the rents raised. So all the artists and students and so on, they had to move because they couldn't afford to live there anymore. So the wave moved to the next location, which was, it started in Mitte and then it went via Prenzlauer Berg to Friedrichshain and so on and so on. So there is a kind of dynamic you can also predict, and therefore we use this tool, a weather map, to see what is predictable and where actually also it is strategic to make interventions to maybe also force this kind of transformation. Since we also believe that it's always important to work in two scales when you work on those transformation processes. One scale is the macro scale, like I just explained now, to see the whole city, where to really interfere, but also the micro scale. And to understand like subspaces, we developed a tool which we call Wanted Poster, which is a very small sheet where we really try to bring those facts very short into a paper to show, first of all, the characteristics, the actors, the stakeholders, and the potential of transformation. Another very nice tool I always like to talk about is the dinner talk, where we bring, as I said already in the beginning, these different actors together in a kind of leisure atmosphere, which is always important to take away the pressure and combine it with lectures and so on. And this is always very fruitful because after this feeling good together and taking care for yourself and having expert input and so on, this really brings all together to a next step. Okay, after 13 minutes, I introduced the lecture tonight. I have 5 main fields. I will also talk a bit faster, I think. So first I want to talk about the transformation as a challenge of the future cities. So because we believe that maybe we have to change our understanding of a city, or let's say of the vision and the optimal city than a couple of years ago. And then I will come to some case studies of Berlin, of temporary users. I will show some learnings from international examples of creative spaces. I will also talk about the learning outcome for the city development, actually. And in the end, I will show you a realization of a city production by a temporary user in Berlin, the Holzmarkt project. So if we think about the modern city, then we have to ask ourselves, what is our optimal vision and optimal picture of a modern city? This one here we see was done, everybody knows, in this architecture faculty by Le Corbusier in 1922. And as we can see here, it is a very generous city with big buildings, wide spaces, and big streets for the domination of car. And the question is our city really, in our days, like this? Is it so homogeneous? Is it a kind of finished picture? Is it a kind of finished city we are living in? And also, do we really want this? okay, now we think the unfinished city is much more exciting. There you have much more tension, you have totally different skills, you have different temporalities, you have yeah, also different ways of mobility, and this gives the city a kind of richness and complexity which is kind of human also, and it's livable in our terms of view. I mean, everybody has to decide for themselves, but this is our perspective on the city, and we ask ourselves actually, is this polarization actually, isn't it a quality we can work with? And our role as a planner is maybe to detect those tensions and those pluses and minuses and work with them, and being also kind of mediator between those pluses and minuses. And then if we think like this, do we also then maybe have to develop different actions for this kind of unfinished city? Don't we have to find kind of creative concept of demolition, maybe have to develop a dynamic park development where also different skills, multi-layered public spaces, different temporalities come together so that actually they fulfill different needs of the inhabitants, because as we know, not everybody is the same. And maybe it's also time actually for participation and integrative city development, where actually actors not only come in the end but in the beginning. And yeah, one also very important thing in this picture of us is that the community building is in our days very important, because yeah, here you see again like a picture of this unfinished city with these different temporalities, different type of users, different skills, and actually always in transformation. And this is what I wanted to talk, because in our days we detected that the living space is of course very important. So in our days it's very important to have everything in your neighborhood, that you have your working space, you have areas where you can spend your leisure time, that you are connected to your most important locations and destinations, that yeah, maybe also to create a system, an energy system to be autark and not depend on a kind of overall network. But at the same time, the me and the us is, yeah, became also more important than the singularity in our society. A lot of cases, by researching those temporary users, became clear that this community building and doing something together, bringing different brains together, creates a lot of power and yeah, can change a lot, and it becomes much more necessary in our days. Okay, Berlin, case studies. As you know, Berlin was divided, and in '89 the wall came down, and with this also a lot of spaces were available, because the no man's land between the walls is a lot of space. And of course the city came up with a huge master plan, as you can see here in the example, the Media Spree, where they had a couple of kilometers programmed, they had the public spaces but also the building typologies, like a classical master plan. But they had to realize that they couldn't finish it as fast as they wanted to. Here you can see the plots with land use in 1990. So this is what they wanted to build within this frame. And here you can see the realized projects until 2010. And this is totally different pictures, but a high density came up of temporary users. But before I come to this, I wanted to talk about this gap, which is actually coming into existence if the program is not necessary anymore. I mean, in the case of the no man's land, it's also kind of a case like this, but better example are industrial areas or harbor areas, which are not necessary anymore. And then the city most of the time comes up with a master plan And during this time, the gap between the former use and the future use is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this gap actually, we detected are hybrid spaces where space pioneers, like urban pioneers, like temporary users, can find their niche and can actually experiment a program which was never there, or which they never dared to do, or didn't have the money to. So this is actually a very good field for experimentation, and especially also for the city context. The area which I showed you in the master plan was filled up with like different kind of program. It was very diverse and very attractive. There was, for instance, of course, a bar, but also a newspaper. There was a car repair station. There was a theater, a pony location where kids could ride a horse. There was a swimming pool, a Caribbean club, and so on and so on. And this became very popular. So it attracted a lot of visitors, and so actually the city came under pressure because they couldn't move them so much. But today they are already at this point that they know that this was high quality and that they can use it for their transformation. But at this time in 2004, they were a bit afraid. So coming again to this situation in the city development and conventional planning, then there is the case, you have the land, you develop a concept, and one day you build your building and the user is coming in the end. But starting with this temporary use, the city planning discovered that the user is better to integrate in the beginning. Then, first of all, it's much more sustainable, the realization, and you start right in the beginning to communicate actually that there is a transformation going on. So by researching those temporary users, we detected typologies of temporary use. I won't maybe go to everyone, maybe, but this is very important to know that there are different typologies, because some have a big impact on the area, but also on the future program, and some only use the gap. For instance, like the stopgap is a temporary user who is using the gap between the former use and the future use to just experiment for themselves, their program and how it works, and if the new plan is coming or realization, they just move to a next location. Then there is the parasite, which is a temporary user who is using the potential of existing commercial program, and for them it's also good because they're having a little niche. They use the quality and the visitors of the commercial program, and they can test themselves also. And there is an impact giver who actually has a very big impact on the programmatic development of the area. And but also, I will also give you some examples from Berlin. They have the power on some cases to really change a whole neighborhood, because some neighborhoods they have a negative connotation because they have empty plots already for 50 years or something, and this in the middle of the city, and this is not helpful if it's like framed and empty for such a long time for external visitors, because it's always a sign of having no money or being not able. I mean, it's a negative connotation. And we recognize that if you open up the area and just try different temporary users on this area, then something is happening, and also the connotation, and this is the most important thing, is changing in the heads of the inhabitants. And this also leads actually to an acceptance of the area, and then also attracting more people actually. Yeah, then there's also an example of the consolidation. These are temporary users who actually managed to consolidate on an area. So they had so much success with their program that they could consolidate and being integrated in the realization of the city development or area development. And there's a nomade, I also brought an example for that, is a temporary user who only gets short-term contracts. Is always the case. In Berlin it was always the case that they got first only like 3 months and then later maybe a 1-year contract. And luckily, I mean, we are really lucky because of this wall coming down that this happened, because our municipality really realized that there are a kind of added value for the city, that it can't be all this kind of finished situation with like closed streetscapes and so on, that it has brings tension, that it brings also visitors, in the end also brings money. So for one of my actually favorite examples is a community garden in Kreuzberg, it's Prinzessinnengarten. Maybe some of you know this example also. I really love the story of the guys. Robert Shaw and Markus Clausen, they got the key of the area, which was empty for 60 years or so. They got the key and they wanted to visit the area. So they asked a journalist if he would join. And they came there and opened the gate and they saw a huge area full of waste. And they thought, oh my God, how can we realize our community garden 2 weeks? We are 3 people, how can we clean all this rubbish? And then they asked the journalist if he could put an ad in the newspaper to call for help to clean the area. Yeah, come on, who is willing to clean the rubbish of an area in the city? Nobody. But they did anyhow. They thought no risk, no fun, let's do it. And on this day, they wanted to clean it. They went there with like 3 buckets and a couple of more tools. And they arrived and there were like 100 people waiting for them to clean the area. I still get goosebumps when I tell the story because it's so, nobody would have thought that this would happen, and it's just a nice story. And since the ground was very contaminated, since it was a kind of auto repair station, and also they only got a contract for 1 year, they had to develop a garden which was movable. So they had this box, or now they have these boxes to be able always to move the garden. Luckily, their contract also changed. Now they have a 5-year contract, which is already renewed. And but here, what I want to say also to bring up like why this stopgap in the beginning, like temporary user, became an impulse giver, because first of all, it is really an oasis in the city. You have this kind of trees, you are sitting under those trees and you don't see the city anymore and you feel like outside of the city. Although there is a big street, but you don't have the focus and you don't hear the noise. And then they also have a different program, so they combine program to attract different kind of people also. And they really organize concerts, they have a public library here, they have a restaurant there where they also organize like 7-course menu in a kind of Japanese style and so on and so on and so on. But this was so successful that this example really changed the whole neighborhood. Because all the Turkish grandmas who were living in the neighborhood, they came into the community garden, and the runners, Robert Shaw and Markus Clausen, they learned the most of those Turkish grandmas. Also a very nice story. And it attracts so many people in the summer. It's unbelievable. And also they went into the court and they were asked to also design with the neighbors of a block, the courtyard, in the same way. And it's such an attraction that changed the whole area. So actually investors also came and opened up cafes, shops and so on, souvenir shops for the tourists. So it became a totally different area, and it was before really a negative connotated area with like huge infrastructure and a lot of migrants, which is, makes it always, in terms like, not in my perspective, but in the perspective of a lot of people, makes it difficult. So this is a very good example for being an Impulsgeber. Here you see some other pictures. People are always very happy there. And an example which I also liked very much because I spent my youth there is the Nomade the Yam. It's a Caribbean sports club. This is a very special example because they are in the club scene in Berlin since 20 years, and they always had one-year contracts, imagine. They always had to invest to, I mean, they had to invest to build up their, I don't know, their sports field, put some heating into a hall to be able to spend time there. And the nice story about this one is after they moved to like, I don't know how many locations, the municipality recognized that it can't be that they go outside of the city. They have to stay in the city and also in the center where they have been. So they organized a plot for them and organized that they got a permanent contract. This is amazing. Amazing. Here you can see, therefore, also consolidation. They, for the first time in their life, they planned it, and for the first time in their life, they really can invest also a little bit of money to create their vision of a city, which, as you can see, the context looks totally different. But as I said in the beginning, this makes the city rich and livable and gives the tension of the space. A stopgap for 8 years is the Bar 25, also located in the no man's land between the walls between Friedrichshain and Kreuzberg. And these guys were also quite funny because they started with a vision, they want to realize a club. And this worked quite well, and then they realized, okay, they have to add program, because if they want to also play a role in the city and not being this kind of elitary, closed community, they have to open up and also invite different kind of generations and different kind of visitors. So what they did is, for instance, here you see the pool. They realized during the World Championship. So this is what I just want to say. They always react on a kind of overall dynamic in the city. This is what I also was saying in the beginning, that you always have to have the macro and micro view, because in Berlin, I mean, in every city you have a fair, you have a fashion week, you have whatever, a month of performance, and they realize they can also get an added value out of it, and they reacted on it with certain interventions, like building a pool, building a hostel, building a little configuration out of containers for an exhibition, so that they actually always change. Every time you go there or you went there, you saw a different space situation, which makes it also very exciting actually, because every time you have the feeling you go to a different location. And after 8 years, the municipality had to or wanted to sell the land where they had been, the Bar 25, and they had to move, and they found a location on the other side of the river. They also changed their name, Kater Holzig, and there, it's wrong written here, it's not 8 years, they stayed 2 years. But for these 2 years, they also invested a lot of money. So they had to build in a heating, for instance, and also here they work with a lot of temporary structures, as you can see here, very simple. They are very fast. Building out of wood a new club for extension party, or having a theater. They also use the space for conferences. They also built a sauna, for instance. And what was very successful was the restaurants. What they actually tried for a moment in the Bar 25, and they recognized, okay, they can even do a restaurant. Wow. This they also didn't expect in the beginning. They didn't know that they are able, beside the club situation, also run a restaurant. So, but this one here also became so successful that even big companies like Schering or big banks celebrated their Christmas dinner there, which we found also a bit wow. We didn't expect that. And so I also will show you this example of those guys later, because these are the guys who actually managed to produce cities themselves. But I will come to this later. So out of this research of creative spaces, we also asked ourselves, okay, what is important if you plan a creative space? And we came up with 4 fields. First of all is, of course, the organization and the controlling is very important, and what is always a question is the economy and the adding value. We recognize that space strategies are very important to be successful in the end, and what is also very important is the program development and the participation. How this looks like, for instance, in the organization controlling, we recognize it can't be a hierarchy system where one person is leading and all the others are following. I mean, you are doing it also already, that you build up a big network and using this power of different brains and backgrounds to really create a space. And within those processes, we recognize that there are different kind of personalities. For instance, there is a hands-on activist who is going into the site and is not planning anything, he's just doing. You know, he has his tools and he's like rolling immediately. And then there's a guy who has nothing, no money, nothing, but he has a really good radar, so he can feel and see where something is going on. He knows a lot of people, so he really knows the area. So it's always good to have one person like this in the team. Then of course there's a project developer who's always calling overseas or somewhere. Then there is a network builder who is really good in bringing people together and bringing power together. Then there is, for instance, the submarine, who actually always comes from an institution and staying in the background, maybe a little bit underwater to see everything out of the distance. And there is a complice, for instance, the girl, who is looking for more complices to start the process very slowly from a different direction maybe. And then there's the experimental house owner, who has money and also kind of vision, and he's just doing it. Also very important to have one, because he has a good feeling for the realization in the end. And then there is the dowser, who always knows where the strategic point to do an intervention. It's like going through the area and feeling where's the energy. And then there's a hands-on architect who is also just building and planning very precisely. And then there's the voice girl, who is very important for communication. Okay. The economy and the adding value is always very important. The question is always what comes in, how to deal with it inside, and what comes out. And in always comes investments, fundings, master mortgage or land. And the question is how to deal with this within the process. And it can also, for instance, be an exchange. It doesn't necessarily has to be like financial money, but it can also be exchange, recycling, or mutual service to really bring a process to run. And what comes out is not only a monetary value. I said already also that the charisma and the flow back, the change and transformation of the image is much more, not much more, but at least this has the same value as monetary money. And what we also found out that space strategies, you also do it already, I saw the flags on the area. It's very important to communicate that something is happening. And that also you call for ideas to invite the inhabitants to be part of the city production. And so that in our terms, in our view, in our perspective, it is very important because the acceptance of the inhabitants is very important to be successful and to have a sustainable transformation and also have the power for the municipality. And always what is very important is the question, what kind of concept of use do we have, how do we find the user, who is leading, and how do we avoid conflicts of use. And then, of course, the question is how to design the process. And we actually found out that the parallel working is much more efficient and successful than the kind of linear process like we know it from the conventional planning system. And the most important thing is the exchange of experiences. So to network with similar actors who have different experiences in different cities to be able also to get the knowledge and work with the knowledge. And with this knowledge, we looked also at international examples of creative spaces. I brought you three, one in Rotterdam, the Scriblok, one in Basel, and one in Linz. And I want to start with the Scriblok in a very quick version. The Scriblok is also a very nice example. I will talk in more detail tomorrow in the workshop about it. But for tonight, it's very important to know that there was one law in the Netherlands that a building couldn't stay longer than for 1 year. If this happened, a different organization took over, the Anti-Kraak organization. And this organization organized to rent out this empty building for people who were willing to live there, to work there, whatever. And they only had to pay like very little rent for water, electricity, and so on. And in this building, 2 people were living, 2 urban designers, and the building was owned by a private investor. And luckily, the economic crisis came. So he couldn't realize his plans he had. So those guys, they convinced him to give them a 1-year contract to try some program, to find some user, to make it alive, because this building was also very close to the central station and for the whole image of the city not very helpful. So they founded association, the Scriblok we found, and what was very interesting for us here was that they called for users, but if you started to step into the building and are willing to be part of the Scriblok, you are part of the Scriblok. It was such a democratic system that everyone who wanted to join had also a vote and could organize and plan the interventions and the transformation of the building. And the Scriblok before was communicating with the owner, but also with the municipality. And how they made it happen, they did a crowdfunding, they did a communication campaign, I Make Rotterdam, and they organized an initiative, a city initiative. And what was here also very important was that they connected it to the Architecture Biennale, so that they had an open debate in the building about the future city and so on, and by this they got the focus on the building. And they also did very strategic interventions. First of all, they marked very simply with color the public space, but they also were able to realize a bridge which is connecting the public space with the building via the streets, via this crowdfunding project. Another example is the tobacco factory in Linz. They also have an advanced network. They started in 2004, if I'm right, and this was owned by the city Linz. So they founded a development company. The city founded this development company to transform the whole area, And they also have this system that they call for users on their website. At the moment they are rented out, but everybody who is joining, he is like really in. It's not like possible that you be part of it, but only from the distance. And here they had, of course, they have to spend a lot of money for all this electricity and the spacious changes they want to do, but at the same time they also get rents from the tenants, and the rents here are between 1 and 12 euros. As a kind of evolution and participation, as I said already, they founded this development company by the city, and they started Grandland. So these communication projects are always very important to do very fast and right in the beginning. And space strategies here were that they of course started at a street which was high frequented, to also be able to communicate that something is changing here, and to also get tenants. The third example is Quebec in Basel. This is also owned by the city, was a former port and logistic area with stockrooms and so on. And here it's the case that the city development and the Swissport together, they organize the agent who actually is communicating with the temporary user and organizing the communication between those polarizations. And here's the case that we have a big land and big spaces, which it's hard to fill. You can imagine this, like so much empty space, and you also have to build infrastructure where you have to spend money for. So yeah, so it's a big effort to transform the area. So what they did is they started with a lot of big open air events, like open air kino, cinema, or open air theater and so on. So also here to communicate that there is something changing. And actually in every case there is this call for interest, to invite people who have ideas, who are willing to try something out, who want to rent space out. The learning outcomes for the city development. If you look back on conventional planning, then always the planner tries to get the bridge between former use and future use. But as I said, this linear process leads always to this point where the user is coming in the end, and this linear process is very much taking a lot of time. So one can say that these areas are in a kind of waiting loop, waiting until they are appropriated and bringing back to life again. And quite often these processes, they are collapsing. And the realization is not possible anymore. You spend a lot of money, a lot of time, and the situation is still the same, it's still the waiting loop. So we found out, or it's also clear, that the conventional planning process is starting with the exclamation mark, and most of the time, or not most of the time, but in like big master plans, it's ending with a question mark. And by actually using this gap by temporary user, it is on one hand possible to test different programs until you really find your future program. And by this, you start with a question mark actually and try to find different possibilities. And the most important questions for owners of the area is always, what do we do with the temporary users when they are on the site? And we also detected different kind of typologies. One type is the tabula rasa, as you can see here, the temporary users are there, then everybody is gone, and then the new planning is coming. Another type is the type zoo, where the temporary users start, they become more and more and more, and they are integrated in the new planning in one building. And then there's the typology of type biotope, where the temporary use is becoming more and more and more, and is attracting also commercial program and new buildings. And there is the type reactor, the impulse giver, where actually in the end new buildings and commercial program and temporary users, they can consist parallel, and yeah, they can use the power of these two different temporalities together. So the quality of using temporary use is that you start with a question mark and you end with an exclamation mark. Okay, now I come to this example of the former Bar 25 and Pater Holzig guys, who had to leave the area because the municipality wanted to sell the land. As you can see here, the location is really in the middle of the city, located at the river Spree, between two stations, so it's a very special area. And as I said, also there was this big master planning with a high density, private plots, and very clean architecture. And there was coming up a citizens' initiative protest, because suddenly the inhabitants, they realized they want to have this public space, which they had all the years during this time where the municipality didn't know how to realize this master plan, and the temporary users could take over. That they still would like to have this public space, so they protested a lot, and the municipality came under pressure that they couldn't sell the land to some commercial investor. And therefore, the guys developed with 3 officers together a concept where they found a Swiss pension fund who bought the area for them, and convinced also the municipality to give in a kind of auction the land to them. So today they try to build already the first buildings. Here you can see a comparison of the planned, the master plan and the new plan of the Holzbach guys and the offices. And what was very nice, and also for us a new process, that we developed with like 20 people together this plan, and it was a very intense years actually, but it was a lot of fun, and in the end it's very sustainable, and the city is very happy. Not everybody, of course, but yeah, you will see later. A very big clue here was that we developed all together land which is public. And all the pink color here you can see is public program or public lands. You can see that there is a connecting way along the water, connecting public programs which are situated at the river Spree. You can also see that on the roofs of the buildings are public spaces and programs planned, and also in the viaduct there's public program, and this actually was convincing enough for the municipality to sell the land to them. The plan is that on one hand you have the Eckwerk, which is a kind of, there's planned by Kleinius and Graf now, a building which should be very ecological and very innovative, and but also very dense, to have the possibility to have a low density in the middle of the area. The village, which includes also a restaurant, the club, but also a lot of different programs, like also very banal programs like a butcher, like a yoga studio, like a workshop, so that there is a kind of very urban mixture, not only from kind of elitaire program, but a good mixture to attract different kind of clientele. And there's also a hotel plan which should work with like different temporalities, like a hostel where you can stay 1 month or 1 night, but also you can stay there for 1 month or 1 year. This is how it was visualized, like this is a kind of continuation of their aesthetics they had in the Bad 25 and the Prater Holzig, like very temporary architecture with wooden architecture containers and so on. And as I said already, the idea is to have a high diversity, like big spaces, but also very small spaces, that you have workshops, that you have creatives, that you have public program. And the very important thing here was to start immediately. As I said already in the beginning, to communicate that there will be a transformation, that there will be a piece of land in the city which will be usable, and they we divided the area in 3 zones where we set different kind of temporary uses in the beginning, so that then after new actors who wanted to be part of the area would also try their program on the area. And the opening of the whole phasing was on the 1st of May in 2013. I'm almost finished. Don't fall asleep. But therefore I show the video now, because maybe it wakes you up. It will be in German, but I will talk over a little bit maybe. But I found it very interesting, because I also wouldn't have expected that so many different people would come to this opening. You will see it yourself.
Ich bin heute hier auf dem Holzmarktgelände. Es ist der 1. Mai 2013, ein revolutionäres Datum. Wir werden heute anfangen, die Stadt umzukrempeln, den Spaten ansetzen, ein Stück neue Stadt schaffen. Ich bin die holzige Mieze und ich werde mich jetzt mal auf diesem Gelände ein wenig umschauen. Wow!
Yeah, she is explaining what you are seeing, but when she's coming in the picture, I will explain it.
Finde ich, dass es halt offen bleibt und irgendwie Platz für kreative Entfaltung ist.
Auch diesen Hallen werden kleinteilige Holzhäuser
We are also standing there, you can see to communicate what will be happening, and there were a lot of politicians
bunte Mischung
what will be on the area.
Wie kommt es zur Schweizer Stiftung?
This is the guy from the pension fund, and he's asked how does it happen? How can you spend money for this kind of thing? And he said there's a more stupid way to spend money.
Was glauben Sie, wird hier entstehen?
Na, ich habe das in der Zeitung gelesen. Das Holzbad,
yeah, I read it in the newspaper already. I just hope that I will still be able to watch it, because I'm already so old and I live in the neighborhood.
Ja, vielleicht nach Karussell hier so.
And the kids, they want to have fun.
Ja,
Das wäre toll.
Rummel halt. Möglichkeit.
Hasenschlag. Holzmarkt bedeutet für mich endlich ein neues Zuhause. Und ich habe endlich meinen Platz wiedergefunden.
Mein Wunsch ist, dass es so weitergeht, wie es sich bislang entwickelt, dass es erfolgreich umgesetzt wird, weil ich eben von Anfang an der Meinung war, dass es für Berlin eine enorme Ausstrahlung haben wird. Und eben Berlins Ruf als Kreativmetropole statt der Kreativwirtschaft stärken wird weltweit.
Glauben Sie, es ist ein Vorreiter oder ein Ausnahmemodell?
Also bisher ist es leider noch eine Ausnahme, aber ich hoffe, am Ende werden wir sagen können, es war ein Vorreiter.
Was können die Integration lernen? Ich glaube, sie können lernen, dass sie sich nicht zu schnell halten lassen.
built by this kind of artificial renderings. And, yeah.
Die Katzen stehen über allen gesellschaftlichen Strukturen.
That's fun.
Wir sind daheim! Wir haben es geschafft!
Vor 2,5 Jahren standen wir hier. Stand ich auch da drüben und habe dann gesagt, ja, schauen wir mal, wie es weitergeht.
This was the time when they had to move the area.
Im Endeffekt, das ist daraus geworden. Was mir dabei aufgefallen ist, dass wenn ganz viele Menschen an eine Sache glauben, dann kann das auch wahr werden.
But I show it, I really like to show it because I was myself very much surprised how many different generations came there and really were supporting the project so much that I was really touched by that. And I just will show you how this could continue, also with a kind of strategic continuation. With the first building should be a club, because with the club they can earn a lot of money, and the plot where the hotel was planned was the plot for the temporary use, because they didn't know when they would realize this. This is how it looks in 2014. Already a lot of little pizza huts and whatever, and the physiotherapeut yoga studio, but it looks really still like a little bit like a program desert, because after this they started building the big halls, as you can see here. They planned like 3 halls, like a theater and event hall, a workshop hall, and a hall for musicians, and one for art. Acrobats, for acrobats. And during this building time, you still have temporary use. You have already realized buildings, you also have temporary tents and so on. So that the area is always in transformation, but always also programmed, which is very important.
But may I immediately ask something, because it will this money bothering me.
Please, please.
This pension fund, Swiss pension fund, bought this area with the aim to sell it once when the prices will go up. And meanwhile, they're still owners. It's not that they lend money to this association.
They have to pay a little rent to the Swiss pension fund, and they have the right to be tenants for 99 years.
99?
But you also have to say this pension fund has a very social concept, so therefore they were supporting it.
Yes, pension fund has always social concept.
But there are also different ones. But you are also astonished that they bought it, no?
And also, for example, for this opening, who invested in this? Because this was huge. It's like to organize Rolling Stones, I guess.
A lot of people who were working for Carter Holzig. A lot of people who were working in this group of Carter Holzig. They are a big network, and since I told you before that they have been 8 years, the bar 25 on the other side, on the same site, and then they had to move. So during these 8 years, they also built up a huge network. So they have a lot of people who are supporting them, and they love the concept, and they just want to be part of it. It's as simple as that.
How are they like formally organized or financially? Is this like some sort of microfinancing, or I mean, is it like a housing cooperative or more like
they are association.
Yeah.
And it's also, yeah, they actually what was the clue in their organization that they had like 3 associations. One was had the working part, organizing the financial part, and you could be Genosse. What is it? Genossenschaft, yeah. Cooperative. And if you be the member, how do we call it?
Member.
Okay, you are the member of the cooperative, and you invest money to be the member. But then you also have a vote to organize the planning and the organization. But if you want to get out of the cooperative, you get your money back. That is the contract. And then there is another association who is actually more the creative part, who is doing the calling for the future users, bringing that together, looking also what is the strategic location, and then if they have a kind of plan, they communicate it to the cooperative, and they have a vote to say I like it or not, and so the process is going further. And then there's a third association, which is a community garden, the merchant park. And they work with a lot of freelancers on the area, because you see also here a lot of green stuff, green area, and this works also very well because they include the schools and the senior networks from the neighborhood, and it's a very important part at this location. Yeah, and it fills and changes and so on and so on.
And Janine, I don't understand how was Urban Catalyst Studio also involved in this?
Yeah. Because
in planning?
In planning, exactly. There were 3 offices, Urban Catalyst, Hütten und Paläste, which means like little boxes and kiosks, and Campaneto Architects, all with like a different expert knowledge. And we all together developed this kind of plan, which you can see here, which had to get a go from the municipality to be realized again. And now it will be realized step by step. This is how it looked last summer, where you have the Ding Dong Dome. You can see the windows. It has been realized by a very famous architect, Martin Kaltwasser, who is always working with waste material. And the months of performance took place, for instance, there. And you can see also the merchant garden. They are also built a wooden deck, which is actually the pathway which is connecting different plots along the river. And what is very important for the city is that there is additional benefit for the city. And as I said already, the benefit doesn't necessarily, must be financial. But it is in our days a more sustainable development plan, and acts actually to the benefits of the public. And it ensures creative spaces for the citizen in general. And as I said so many times this evening already, it is a space for experimentation where we can actually try to find out how do we really want to live in the future? How are the parameters? What do we need? Because we are changing, society is changing, so the space also should change. And now I come back to this weather map I was talking in the beginning, so the circle is almost closed. Because as I said, if there is this kind of city production, it has an impact on the next location and will change the city in a certain direction. So if to finish everything is like in a kind of traditional planning system, you have space, time and use. And in our terms of view, on our perspective, it is important to extend those planning coordinates by being dynamic, by including the actors and being undefined, so to really test during the process. Thank you so much.